What's up guys, it's National Master Dem Apples here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be going over a game that I played at a chess camp. When I was coaching here, I played a blindfold match against 10 of the students. Now, some of these students are pretty good. They go all the way up to 1,500 over the board, which is probably like 1,800 online-ish. And so, yeah, some of these guys are pretty good, and they challenged me to a blindfold game. So I'm playing white here, and I start off the game with c4. Now, keep in mind here, in this game, I do play a brilliant move, and play with over 90% accuracy, so nice. Just keep that in mind, and I'll give you some tips and tricks on how to visualize the board better. So c4, c5, knight c3, knight f6. Of course, you don't really need any visualization for the opening, but it does help to, we're just kind of copying each other, by the way. It does help to relate a certain sort of position to something you already know. Like, as you can see here, I have a fianchettoed bishop, and it's sometimes easier to even relate these to words. You can say, oh, I just have a Catalan set up, right? Instead of remembering where all your pieces are. I have a Catalan set up, but I have, like, a pawn on c4, you know, and I don't have a pawn on d4. And for him, all I know is that, well, they've practically copied me. So that's all I really need to know. So here, I played d4, and the students are kind of taking turns sometimes, so some of their moves are not the greatest, and they did play this move kind of quickly, or like after some thought. They didn't really know how to respond to d4, but if they had just kept kind of copying me, they would have been fine. They played bishop to d7. And this is when you know something's off. And this is surprisingly when it starts to get a bit difficult to track where the pieces are. Because you know that the bishop does not belong in d7. Now, let's take a look at why the bishop doesn't belong here. It does block the queen. And so it allows for this really nice short combination. Pawn takes pawn, takes, and knight e5. Now, why do I know this is possible? Well, after takes, the pawn is no longer on d6, so I can go knight to e5, and I know this as well. Just need to keep track of pieces and their usual spots, right? In this structure, I know that, okay, well, I have a laser beam bishop in this structure, right? Always need to be aware of that. Usually a knight would be good on d5 in these structures. Usually a knight on e5 is good to open up the bishop, and it's just themes and patterns that you recognize. So knight to e5 is what I play. Queen to c7 is played, and this is just kind of a mistake. I have no idea why they didn't go here. I mean, they were talking about their decisions right in front of me. I did here. They did not want to go into this kind of structure where they have doubled pawns. That's what they said. But this is actually not at all bad for black. My bishop is not that great, and their bishop is pretty strong. And yeah, the more pieces that come off the board, the harder it is for me, I'd say, because in an endgame, you know, a lot of moves can be played. And so queen c7 is played, and without much thought, I played bishop to f4, which apparently isn't that great of a move. And they go for the very nasty knight to h5. And so this is where things start to heat up, right? I know that knight takes, so I start to calculate here. I know that knight takes d7 is a discovered attack. And because I'm relying on themes and normal themes in chess, right? There was a study performed where grandmasters had to play chess games, except a lot of the times, no, they had to remember blindfold positions from like a very brief look, and they scored way better on actual positions. And these are actually decent players, and this is a very realistic position. Now, what I know is that they castled. And from knight h5, I can simply calculate that, okay, well, if I take here, right, and if he takes my bishop, which they were thinking about, I can take their rook and I'll be up material. Because when you castle, there's a rook on f8. That's what happens like when you play blindfold. It just helps a lot to memorize just normal patterns. So like, okay, are they castled? Yes, I remember that they castled. Okay, then I can take the rook on f8. Because I don't think they moved it, at least. So they know this, and they took my knight with their queen, because they didn't want their rook to be lost, and I just moved my bishop back, because I knew it was attacked. Queen to c7 is played. I don't know why they keep wasting time with their queen. That's not what I taught them to do, but it's alright by me because I win. Bishop d4 is apparently a good move. But again, the knight on the rim isn't super great, but this bishop is pretty strong. Queen to c7 and knight to b5. Knight d5 is apparently better, but to me, that looks counterintuitive. This one keeps more options open for me and keeps my queen open, my bishop's open. Doesn't really matter. Queen b6, and now here's a common theme that I saw blindfolded, but this theme you can use in a lot of games, and I play this move b4. Apparently it's brilliant. I don't know about that. And it's just an exchange sacrifice, just straight up an exchange sacrifice. And the point is, well, I weaken their dark squares. And this is a really common theme in a lot of these kinds of fianchetto openings, right? If you can get the bishop out of its hidey hole, then the squares around the king are super weak. And so what I'm doing here is that I'm doing this with tempo, so I'm going to win some material too. Bishop takes a1 is played. They can't, I mean, of course, they just take the material. It's really natural. Take on c5 with my bishop. Queen a6 is played. Again, a slightly questionable move. They were thinking about queen f6, which I think is a better move, guarding the bishop and forcing an exchange of queens. But queen a6, and I go knight to c7, fork. As I know, this is a very powerful move, because as far as I'm aware, the knight on b8 hasn't moved yet. And if the knight hasn't moved, then the rook is still on a8. And that means I know for a fact that a knight on c7 is going to trap the rook. That's how you visualize things, guys. You just know where pieces are. Like, you just remember common things. Well, okay, the knight hasn't moved, so that means the rook hasn't moved either, right? It's just simple things like this, and so that means I know that knight to c7 will trap his rook. And it's a fork, because he just played queen to a6. And based on what I said, right, we can deduce that there's a rook on a8. And so that means it's a fork. Queen to f6. Queen takes bishop. Knight to a6 is played. Doesn't really matter, honestly, at this point. They are a decent amount worse. I just exchange queens. The thing is, if you want high accuracy, well, no, not high accuracy, but if you want to visualize things better, it's easier to just release the tension. And so they're giving me an opportunity to release the tension, and I'm going to take it. Or else, what if I go, like, I don't know, f4 and f5, and I take on f5 and hang my queen? Like, that would be kind of sad. So, knight takes f6 is played. At this point, I did not know that there was a pawn still on e7 for some reason. I don't know. And for some reason, later on the game, I thought there was a pawn on f6. It was all fine in the end, but, yeah, sometimes this can backfire, and it is better to back it up with cold, hard calculation. Now, there are so many tactics. There's, like, bishop b7 tactics, there's bishop e7 tactics, there's taking the rook, there's taking the knight. But when you're trying to visualize something, especially with a blindfold, it's best to simplify things, so I take the free rook. Not the greatest move, and also not that bad, because I saw this combination. Knight takes c5, practically forced. You can't really take here because I take b7 with a very nice fork. Again, the bishop is still proving to be very powerful. Knight takes a8, knight c5, take, and rook to b8, c6, knight e8. They play knight e8 to stop c7, and I play this very nice logical move. I know that their next move is probably going to be knight to d6. Attacking my bishop, I have multiple good moves, but I play rook to d1. Just getting my rook on an open file and setting a nasty trap, which they do fall for. They think that I don't know. I don't know what they thought, honestly. They thought that I lost track of where the pieces were, but no. I sack my rook for the knight because I see that there is a tactic. After takes, c7, black is in a huge pickle. If he takes the bishop, I promote with check, forking the king and the rook. And against anything else, there's just queen. And yeah, the rest of it is just mopping up. I'm up 4 points. And yeah, you can do a bit of trolling at the end. So this was really fun. Really nice game. It gave me some confidence again that I could visualize things against 1500s and beat them, as well as do some trolling. As you can see, I do promote and threaten checkmate. I decide not to checkmate them. I wait for them to promote, and then I checkmate them because I'm just evil like that, as you've seen in some of my videos. But yeah, hopefully this game taught you a couple concepts, like, I don't know, the removing the fianchettoed bishop, and just visualization tips in general. You know, just try to relate the things that you've seen before into openings or structures, and then things get way easier. Like, I can just be like, okay, I have a fianchettoed bishop, right? Therefore, my g2, h8, a8 diagonal is just really, really strong. And yeah, a lot of tactics happen there, and that's eventually how black got checkmated as well. And from then on, it's actually pretty simple. You just need to practice it a bit. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and if you didn't enjoy, it's alright, just like and subscribe anyways. And I'll see you next time. Bye.